He who has seen everything I will make known to the lands. I will teach about him who experienced all things alike. Anu granted him the totality of knowledge. He saw the secret, discovered the hidden. He brought information of before the flood. He went on a distant journey, pushing himself to exhaustion, but then was brought to peace. He carved on a stone stela all of his toils, and built the wall of Aruk Haven, the wall of the sacred Aeana temple, the holy sanctuary. Look at his wall, which gleams like copper. Inspect its inner wall, the likes of which no one can equal. Take hold of the threshold of stone. It dates from times ancient. Go to close the Aeana temple, the residence of Ishtar, such as no later king or man ever equaled. Go up on the wall of Aruk and walk around. Examine its foundation. Inspect its brickwork thoroughly. Is not the brick structure made of kiln-fired brick? And did not the 7 sages themselves lay out its plans? 1 league city, 1 league palm gardens, 1 league lowlands, the open area of Ishtar temple. 3 leagues in the open area of Aruk the wall encloses. Find the copper tablet box. Open its lock of bronze. Undo the fastening of its secret opening. Take and read aloud from the lapis lazuli tablet how Gilgamesh went through every hardship. Supreme over other kings, lordly in appearance, he is the hero, born of Aruk, the goring wild bull. He walks out in front, the leader, and walks at the rear, trusted by his companions. Mighty Net, protector of his people, raging flood wave who destroys even walls of stone. Offspring of Lugalbanda, Gilgamesh is strong to perfection. Son of the august cow, Remet Nitsan, Gilgamesh is awesome to perfection. It was he who opened the mountain passes, who dug wells on the flank of the mountain. It was he who crossed the ocean, the vast seas, to the rising sun, who explored the world regions, seeking life. It was he who reached by his own sheer strength, who torn up Pishtim, the faraway, who restored the city that the flood had destroyed for teeming mankind. Who can compare with him in kingliness? Who can say like Gilgamesh, I am king? Whose name from the day of his birth was called Gilgamesh? 2/3 of him is God, 1/3 of him is human. The great goddess Aruru designed the model for his body. She prepared his form. Beautiful, handsomest of men, perfect. He walks around the enclosure of Aruk. Like a wild bull he makes himself mighty. Head raised above others, there is no rival who can raise his weapon against him. His fellows stand at alert, attentive to his orders, and the men of Aruk become anxious. Gilgamesh does not leave a son to his father. Is Gilgamesh the shepherd of Aruk Haven? Is he the shepherd? Bold, eminent, knowing, and wise, Gilgamesh does not leave a girl to her mother. The daughter of the warrior, the bride of the young man, the gods kept hearing their complaints. So the gods of the heavens implored the Lord of Aruk, Anu. You have indeed brought into being a mighty wild bull, head raised, they said. There is no rival who can raise a weapon against him. Anu listened to their complaints, and the gods called out to Aruru. It was you, Aruru, who created mankind, and now create an equal to him. Let him be equal to Gilgamesh's stormy heart. Let them be a match for each other, so that Aruk may find peace. When Aruru heard this, she created within herself the form of Anu. Aruru washed her hands. She pinched off some clay and threw it into the wilderness. In the wilderness she created the valiant Enkidu. Born of silence, endowed with the strength of Ninurta, his whole body was shaggy with hair. He had a full head of hair like a woman. His locks billowed in profusion like Ashnan. He knew neither people nor settled living, but wore a garment like Sumukan, As with animals, his thirst was slaked with water. A notorious trapper came face to face with him opposite the watering hole. A first, second, and third day he came face to face with him opposite the watering hole. On seeing him, the trapper's face went stark with fear, and Enkidu and his animals drew back home. He was rigid with fear, though stock still his heart pounded, and his face drained of color. He was miserable to the core, and his face looked like one of those who had made a long journey. The trapper addressed his father, saying, "Father, a certain fellow has come from the mountains. He is the mightiest in the land. His strength is as mighty as the light of a new. He continually goes over the mountains. He continually jostles at the watering place with the animals. He continually plants his feet opposite the watering hole. I was afraid, so I did not go up to him. He filled in the pits that I had dug, wrenched out my traps that I had spread, released from my grasp the wild animals. He does not let me make my rounds in the wilderness." The trapper's father spoke to him, saying, "My son, there lives in Uruk a certain Gilgamesh. There is no one stronger than he. He is as strong as the light of a new. Go, set off to Uruk. Tell Gilgamesh of this man of might. He will give you a harlot, Shamat. Take her with you. The woman will overcome the fellow as if she was strong. When the animals are drinking at the watering place, have her take off her robe and expose her sex. When he sees her, he will draw near to her, and his animals, who grew up in the wilderness, will be alien to him." He heeded his father's advice. The trapper went off to Uruk. He made the journey, stood inside of Uruk, and recounted to Gilgamesh the tale of Enkidu. Gilgamesh said to the trapper, "Go, trapper, bring the harlot Shamat with you. When the animals are drinking at the watering place, have her take off her robe and expose her sex. When he sees her, he will draw near to you, and his animals, who grew up in the wilderness, will be alien to him, just as your father said." The trapper went, bringing the harlot Shamat with him. They set off on the journey, making direct way. On the third day they arrived at the appointed place, and the trapper and the harlot sat at their posts. First day and the second day they sat opposite the watering hole. The animals arrived and drank at the watering hole. The wild beasts arrived and slaked their thirst with water. Then he, Enkidu, offspring of the mountains, who eats grasses with the gazelles, came to drink at the watering hole with the animals. With the wild beasts he slaked his thirst with water. Then Shamat saw him, a primitive, a savage fellow from the depths of the wilderness. "That is he, Shamat. Release your clenched arms, expose your sex so he can take in your voluptuousness. Do not be restrained. Take his energy. When he sees you, he will draw near to you, and perform for this primitive the task of womankind. His animals, who grew up in the wilderness, will become alien to him, and his lust will groan over you." Shamat unclutched her bosom, exposed her sex, and he took in her voluptuousness. She was not restrained, but took his energy. She spread out her robe, and he lay upon her. She performed for the primitive the task of womankind. His lust indeed groaned over her. For 6 days and 7 nights Enkidu stayed aroused, and had intercourse with the harlot, until he was sated with her charms. But when he turned his attention to the animals, the gazelles saw Enkidu and darted off. The wild animals distanced themselves from his body. Enkidu, his utterly depleted body, his knees that wanted to go off where the animals went rigid. Enkidu was diminished. His running was not as before. But then he drew himself up, for his understanding had broadened. Turning around, he sat down at the harlot's feet, gazing into her face, his ears attentive as the harlot spoke. The harlot said to Enkidu, "You are beautiful. Enkidu, you will become like a god. Why do you gallop around the wilderness with the wild beasts? Come, let me bring you to Uruk Haven, to the holy temple, the residence of Anu and Ishtar, the place of Gilgamesh, who is wise to perfection, but who struts his power over the people like a wild bull." What she kept saying found favor with him. Becoming aware of himself, he sought her friend. And Kaidu spoke to the harlot. Come, Shamat, take me away with you to the sacred temple, the residence of Anu and Ishtar, the place of Gilgamesh, who is wise to perfection and who struts his power over the people like a wild bull. I will challenge him. Let me shout out in Aruk, I am the mighty one. Lead me in, and I will change the order of things. He whose strength is mightiest is the one born in the wilderness. Come, let us go, so he may see your face. I will lead you to Gilgamesh. I know where he will be. Look about in Kaidu, inside Aruk Haven, where the people show off in skirted finery, where every day is a day of some festival, where the lyre and the drum play continually, where the harlots stand out prettily, exuding voluptuousness, full of laughter, and on the couch of night the sheets are spread. And Kaidu, you who do not know how to live, I will show you to Gilgamesh, a man of extreme feelings. Look at him, gaze at his face. He is a handsome youth. With freshness, his entire body exudes beauty. He has mightier strength than you, without sleeping day or night. And Kaidu, it is your wrong thoughts you must change. It is Gilgamesh whom Shamat loves, and Anu, and Lil, and La have enlarged his mind. Even before you came from the mountain, Gilgamesh and Aruk had dreams about you. Gilgamesh had got up and revealed the dream, saying to his mother Ninsun, Mother, I had a dream last night. Stars of the sky appeared, and some kind of star of Anu fell next to me. I tried to lift it, but it was too mighty for me. I tried to turn it over, but I could not budge it. The land of Aruk was standing around it. The whole land had assembled about it. The populace was thronging around it. The men clustered about it, and kissed its feet as if it were a little baby. I loved it and embraced it as a wife. I laid it down at your feet, and you made me compete with it. Ramatin's son, the wise, all-knowing, said to Gilgamesh, There will come to you a mighty man, a comrade who saves his friend. He is the mightiest in the land. He is the strongest. His strength is mighty as the star of Anu. You loved him and embraced him as a wife, and it is he who will repeatedly save you. Your dream is good and propitious. Gilgamesh spoke to his mother, saying, By the command of Enlil, the great counselor, so may it pass. May I have a friend and advisor may I have. You have interpreted for me the dreams about him.
Hello, if you are new to the channel, why not check out some of these other videos, and subscribe if you want more. Leave a like if you liked it, and post a comment down below for other topics you want covered. Again, thanks for watching.